All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 100th edition of Between a Pot and a Hard Place. I'm Stephen Colton.
And I am Chris Kirkpatrick. And
And
I've got to
I'm,
say, yeah, 100.
yeah, and I really love this image here because, of course, today we talked about this a few weeks ago leading up, and we're going to kind of talk about Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke tonight. And Corey made our, as he always does, made our little episode screen, title, card, whatever you want to call it. And here is, I didn't even notice this at first. I thought it was just a screenshot from the movie. And then I look closer and it's like me and my dad in as Cheech and Chong. And you are the cop arresting us and eating a hot dog.
I don't think he actually does any arresting in that scene. I think he's basically...
That's true.
What? He's high and has the munchies.
And it's a little bit of a crossover between scenes because actually the cop that has the hot dog is when they're driving around the van made out of marijuana. And
that's right.
Two different scenes, but it's still pretty cool.
I think we'll forgive him. We'll forgive him this one time.
I think it's funnier this way.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can see that purple smoke or purple colored smoke, or floating around and everything. And my dad is playing the role here of Cheech, holding the really, really huge joint there. That's
I mean, they don't get much. They don't get much in that.
I don't think so. And it's funny too because my dad being such a big fan of that movie, he would always joke around and am I driving okay? And then so I had Corey. Originally, the roles were reversed originally, and I was like, "Can you switch it?" Because he always would say that joking around. Because they got so high driving, they were just parked in the middle of the street for 20 minutes. So he's like, "Am I driving okay?" He's like, "Dude, I think we're parked, man." So I really like that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. No, I really
a mashup of three scenes.
3 scenes.
I'm like, let me find the differences or whatever. Because you have, when they're originally smoking the big, huge joint, and then the cop with the hot dog. I guess it is because in that scene where they're, well, no, I don't know. I'm trying to find the third one. Well, either way, it's really cool.
Right.
I really like that he did do it that way and didn't just take one little shot.
Yeah, I want to ask you, what did your dad love so much about this movie?
Well, I think growing up smoking marijuana, I guess. He told me stories of how he and his brother, his older brother, which was my oldest uncle, I guess, they would smoke a joint behind a dumpster or something like that, and sneak into the movie, and then watch it. They did that quite a few times when the movie was out. So I guess just being young and back in the, let's see, I'm trying to figure out what age he would have been a teenager. He was born in 1962, so probably I'd say somewhere in the early 1970s, he was doing this kind of stuff. And so it's one of those things. And he didn't necessarily grow out of that either. He didn't sneak into movies, but he didn't get rid of the smoking. And then he wasn't shy about it either. He would tell his doctors, "Yeah, I smoke weed, I don't care." But it did help him, honestly. This isn't some big pro marijuana, let's do it, but I'm not gonna say it's anti. I think I'm just saying that's what, in his case, it helped him a lot. Good evening, guys. Good evening.
Hey, welcome.
But yeah, I think he just liked the comedy of the movies too. He used to have all the cassette tapes of their comedy acts on stage, and a lot of the different bits they would do. If a lot of people who know Cheech and Chong are fans, they'll know the Basketball Jones song. Which he's like, "Basketball Jones, I got a basketball Jones." He's like, I take that basketball everywhere I went. I even put it under my pillow at night. Maybe that's why I can't sleep. I don't know, just silly songs and bits that they did.
Right.
They would do bits where they were dogs sniffing each other, "Oh, hey man, how are you?" And it's just great. I don't know. And he turned me on to a lot of that stuff when I was younger too, which is kind of funny. But I mean, I don't think it's bad. It's great children's programming, I think.
No, it's funny because, Cheech and Chong was not something that my parents were in. My parents didn't smoke regular cigarettes or marijuana, but my wife's family, this was one of those movies they absolutely loved, and so when I got married, this was certainly one of those movies, one of the first movies that I watched with my wife, just to get caught up. And before tonight, I literally right before we started, I just finished a rewatch of the movie.
Oh wow. I was
Well,
gonna do that, but then I forgot to watch it yesterday.
okay,
And I didn't have time today, but I thought it'd be funny because I figured you would probably, I don't know how I knew this or thought this, but I figured you would probably rewatch it at some point before the show. And I thought it'll be kind of cool to have one of us who just freshly watched it and one of us who didn't, to kind of like, which is usually me because I always forget details of stuff anyway. But yeah.
no, I think what's really, really interesting and fun about the movie is that I think that neither Cheech or Chong take themselves too seriously. You got these really uptight cops, and and it seems like um, Cheech and Chong are able to kind of like slip right past. They always just seem to be like one step ahead, though even they don't realize it. I mean, it's just hilarious.
It's
It really
funny,
is.
yeah. One of my favorite scenes in that sort of situation where they're just pure luck versus like, like you said, these really like uptight cops, court system, all this like, legal trouble they can find themselves in,
Right.
and then their stupidity and luck just get them out of it every time. It's like in the court scene where they do get arrested for being like high in the street, just park. They go to court, and then Chong is like, "Man, I'm thirsty. I need some water." So Cheech just grabs the glass from the judge, full of what he thought was water. He's like, "That's vodka, man!" And they instantly thrown out. The judge was drinking vodka in the courtroom.
Right.
That was one of my favorite scenes. I'm like, that kind of luck never happens to me. But
Me either.
it's one of my favorite little scenes of that movie, just because like that could happen. I doubt it, but it could. And all those little weird moments and like Cheech's reaction to everything too. He freaks out. Like sometimes he's like, I don't care, but then other weird situations he's freaking out. And it's pretty funny.
Right. They do kind of walk the line of being either completely careless or intensely paranoid.
Yeah.
That seems to be a pretty common theme.
And it works out for them too.
I know. I like the scene where he sees the can of Ajax that's fallen over on a plate, and he's trying to clean it up, and one of the girls comes in and she's like thinking he's doing coke, and she ends up doing a couple lines and sniffing Ajax. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty bad, and it was funny too because like. That was, well, Cheech called him, I think, his cousin, even though it clearly wasn't his cousin.
Right.
But he's like, yeah, let's go to his house, man. He's got some drugs. Let's go. And then he's like, oh, I got to go get it, but I don't like your friend, so he has to stay here. Turns out the house is full of drugs.
Right.
So, like,
right.
Why they left to begin with, I don't know. But then Chong was like, hey, man, get back here. This house is full of drugs. And they don't know that the cops are outside listening to this entire conversation. So, I mean, oh, wow. Yeah, Corey makes a funny comment. He's like, that would be cool if they got high on the beach and looked over and saw Mr. Miyagi doing the crane poses on the pier.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, see, you got to wonder how many people tried snorting Ajax. And I'm sure a couple of people did.
It would not shock me one bit.
No, I mean, kids were eating Tide Pods a couple of years ago. So I feel like just snorting a little Ajax, not supporting that, don't do that, but I feel like that would be easier, or that would be worse, or easier, better than eating a Tide Pod.
Seriously, we need to put this as the ticker on the bottom of the screen. Do not snort Ajax.
I had the idea, like, but it was too close to the show to do it, of putting like a warning, because I just watched Jackass 4.5 the other day.
Right. Right.
in 4K. So if you've seen any Jackass films, you know that why would you want to watch some of these things in 4K? But I did. And they have always had that warning. The following movie features stunts performed other. And it's like I thought about building something like that or putting it together like warning. The following podcast features stories by professionals or under the supervision of professional. Like, but I'm no professional, so I don't want to try Ajax. I'll clean some stuff with it maybe, but I'm not gonna snort it at all.
Yeah, I will leave that up to the imagination.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like that girl had a good time. I mean, she wasn't there at all. She was woo, but
I think she was gone. I think she was gone before she started, is what I think.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe the Ajax helped balance her out. And again, warning: we cannot sit here and say that Ajax balances out some weird high. So don't try it.
Don't try it.
Unless you really want to, but that's your decision, not ours. Oh gosh!
So I gotta say, a hilarious part of the movie is when they get to that that kind of like battle of the bands.
Oh my gosh!
And they're all of those bands are terrible, by the way. They're totally terrible. And I thought, oh my gosh, we haven't really seen Cheech or Chong do any kind of music in this film. And then the drum set knocks over, and they're clearly both out of it. I'm like, this is not going to be good. And then it was like the marijuana smoke comes in from their burning truck, and it was like they become like rock gods right there.
And I love the aftermath to that too, where the smoke is pouring and the cops finally catch up to them. And they're like, we know they're in there. We're going to go bust them. This is it. This is great. Like the running gag of the entire movie.
And they're all high.
Yeah, they all get high from the truck being on fire. And they just take all this pizza and just start eating it. And they're like, whatever. And they don't even care anymore. So I love that. And that's another example of Cheech and Chong's extremely good luck. And they had no idea they were driving around in a weed van the entire time.
No. The idea that they're constantly looking for a score and they're actually driving. They could literally smoke the vehicle they're in.
Yeah. I mean, easily. It's and they just lucked into that too, because they were looking for a way back into the United States when they were deported, because well they didn't really need to be deported, but they were, because they were legal citizens. But they were like, okay, he's like, my uncle has a van. And it was a legit business that his uncle had, but then he went to the wrong place and got the wrong van. and one little thing out of that scene too, when Cheech is like going in there, like, hey man, where's the bathroom? Because they just eat those burritos. He's like, where's the bathroom? And he's like, oh, it's that way. And then he gets there. He's like, oh, I should have had some ice cream to go with that. And so my dad used to tell me if I ate something hot, like hot wings or anything, and like my stomach was hurting from all that, he was like, eat some ice cream. And I thought that worked. So I used to eat some ice cream and was like, I didn't help at all.
No, you're supposed to sit in it.
Yeah, but in my mind, being like a teenager, I thought, okay, well, if you get the ice cream into your stomach, it will settle whatever's in there, and that'll be fine. But it doesn't work that way.
It's certainly the more enjoyable way to do it. I will say that having been to Tijuana myself, it is true. You don't know exactly what is in your taco. So it is
dog.
I thought it was hilarious too. So again, I live in Southern California. Sometimes people talk about La Migra, as a joke. Some people, though, don't find that very funny because it is a very real threat. And I thought it was hilarious. They'd even learned how to kind of outwit immigration. That they would call immigration on themselves, and they would get a free trip across the border.
Yeah.
And then they just get to go back home afterwards. I will say that going into Mexico is pretty easy. Leaving Mexico is terrible.
Oh, geez.
But I thought that was hilarious. I really thought that was hilarious. That one more way that they learned how to, outsmart people.
And I love that scene, the way it was set up too, because it's all like, oh, there's cops. He's like, that's not the cops, man. That's just It's just immigrant, whatever he says. I can't remember the line exactly, but no, he says it's just let me go. And he's like, what? Yeah. And he's like, immigration, man. They're just going to a wedding. It's fine. And I'm like, oh wow. So this big, huge, chaotic like panic, and then it's like people were hiding behind curtains, and the people hiding were the ones that wanted to go. Yeah. But I guess they were so high that they didn't realize what was. I don't know. But at the end of it, they're just like, oh, never mind, not a big deal. And it's just. I love that like flip from being extremely urgent to just not being a problem at all.
Right.
And that added so much to it. Corey says his favorite part is when he has the Volkswagen with a Rolls Royce grill on the front. I thought that was great because at first you think he's driving a Rolls Royce because you see the grill, then it pulls back and it's just a Volkswagen with it strapped on. I'm like, all right. And then the car breaks down like right down the road anyway. Which is kind of leading into the scene that we had or one of the scenes that we had here for our card. That's when they first meet. He meets him on the side of the road because he's like, there it goes. He's trying to get a ride. Nobody stops. And then he just tucks his shirt under. I almost did it for real, but I'm like, I'm not doing that. He tucks his shirt out and then pulls it down like a women's top. And he's going, I don't know, hitchhiking.
Even that could have been one way to get us more views.
Maybe we'll do an OnlyFans, and I'll do reenactments of movies, not those kinds of movies. Never mind. So he's hitchhiking with his shirt tucked around.
Episode 101 is going to be striptease. Yeah.
Yeah, episode 1-on-1, not 1-on-1. Wow, no.
Right. This just became an 18+ podcast.
Wow. Subscribe tomorrow to watch the full content.
Right.
But yeah, he's hitchhiking to get somebody to stop, and then Cheech is like, "Oh my gosh!" and then like sees, and because he's like stuffed his clothes into his shirt and all this stuff, and then he's like, "Hey, you're not a chick, man." He's like, "Yeah, I know, but that's the only way I can get anybody to stop." I always thought like, okay, you saw everything, but yet he's got this really thick beard, so you saw his face already. So how do you now are surprised like in the moment, like, "Oh, you're not a," I don't know, but it's funny. I guess he was so focused on the chest area that he didn't notice the facial hair. He didn't even pay attention.
Right.
Which made it so much funnier.
Right. I mean, I think the theme of the entire movie is be careful who you pick up along the side of the road. Yeah.
I mean, but then they become friends. He's like, he's like, I need to grab my stuff. He's like, okay. Then like you see him cut 2 or 3 times to get more and more and more stuff. He's like, geez, man, are you moving in? What's going on?
Right.
And then he's like, I like your drums. Like, yeah, I used to be a roadie for who did he say? I forget the band. Oh my gosh. That he said he used to be a roadie for. But he's like, that's how I learned to play the drums and all that. Then that's when he pulls out. He's like, I got a joint. He's like, oh yeah. And it's like this little tiny thing. He's like, here it is. And he pulls that thing out. He's like, oh my God, wow. He's freaking out. And I love that. I don't know. And that leads into them stopping in the middle of the road because the smoke's full in the car.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I'm like, how do you drive like that?
Yeah, how do you? I mean, I can see people smoking and then later going out to drive. Because some people, I keep saying bad things that would get us canceled off television. Don't do that. Unless you're good at it. But don't do it. Wink. No, don't do it. I'm going too far with that. My dad used to do that. He would not like Cheech and Chong in the car, but like at home, and then a little bit later he would go. It didn't really affect him. It did affect him, but it was mostly like being able to sleep for pain, things like that. That's his main use in his older years or later years, older years, like the years got older. The years are, I don't know. But you get what I'm saying. And it was fine for him. But not everybody's going to be the same thing. The Doobie Brothers, yes. Considering the movie we're talking about, how did I not realize Doobie Brothers? Wow.
How did I know my wife would know the answer to that question?
I mean, I don't know why I picked Up in Smoke specifically to talk about tonight. I guess that was the first Cheech and Chong film.
I think it's the most popular Right.
It is. And it's one of my favorites of all time just because of the story.
Yeah.
Just the way it's like a real movie. It's not some wacky, goofy, just like let's put a bunch of jokes in there like some of the other movies have been, which those are great. But the first one being like a full story, beginning, middle, end, a full structure of like what a movie should be, it was great. They had a problem. Well, Chong really didn't have much of a problem. He was just coasting through and like joined along. The story was mainly about Cheech, I guess, and them running from the cops, not even realizing they're being chased by the cops the entire time. And they throw the big joint into the car next to him at the
With
border.
The nuns.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so amazing.
And then they're frisking all the nuns, and they're like, "Oh, God, oh!" And the one nun's like, "Ooh."
Right.
She's all excited.
Enjoyed it. Right.
Yeah. I mean that.
No, I mean Cheech and Chong. We are so often a superhero kind of podcast. There is something. They're very strange kind of heroes, aren't they?
They are
kind of like countercultural heroes.
It's funny you mentioned heroes because there's a villain that's watching. If you're a fan of South Park, you know Professor Chaos. Oh, I'm Professor Chaos. Oh, yeah. Come on, Eric. Let's play superheroes. I'm not a very good at impressions, but
it doesn't stop you from trying.
No, that was terrible. It sounded like a sick old lady.
Right.
But thanks for watching, Professor Chaos. Don't try to rule the world with us. If you do, then let us be part of your. I'm pretty sure that's not a real cartoon character, but it's a cool name. I like it. The oldest nun really enjoyed it. That was the one. I couldn't remember which one it was. Well, she'd been there the longest. She'd been a nun the longest, so it's been how many 50 years since she went through something like that. So I guess all the new nuns were shocked. Like, oh, are we supposed to be doing this? Like, the old one just didn't care. When you get so old, you just don't care.
I'm nodding my head, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I should agree with that or not.
Yeah, I don't. Even as I said it, I'm like, wait a minute. I don't. Try a Butters impression. It might work better. Well, I mean, I guess it's the same character, basically. I'm Butters. It's my birthday. I don't know. I could do a good kitty. That always annoyed. We're not talking about South Park. I'm going to get distracted and start talking about South Park.
Right. So let's talk about 100.
Yeah.
I was really glad that he had brought it up because, some people might wonder, why are we combining our 100th episode out of all the stuff that we could talk about?
Right.
Why are we dedicating our 100th episode on Cheech and Chong, which, let's be honest here, was released before I was born.
Yeah, it was. What year was that? Like 1970?
1978.
78. Okay. I can't remember if it was 73, 8. I knew it was in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it turned out, that today would have been my dad's 60th birthday. And I didn't plan it that way. His parents planned that. Because, But no, seriously, a few weeks back, a couple of months ago, I was like, okay, if we were on this schedule and I added up the days, because originally I thought it would have been cool to have the 100th episode when I got to visit and go to Hollywood and be like, we're 100 live from Hollywood.
Yeah.
But I knew that probably wouldn't happen by May. So I was like, okay, well, what else is around May? I realized my dad's birthday was in May. I was like, wait a minute. And I started counting the Sundays, and we got off track here and there. We would put not a separate episode, but like an extra one in there or whatever to kind of keep on track with that date. And it just happened to coincide with the 22nd, which would have been his birthday. And I was like, that would be cool. And the first episode of the show ever was me recording about a month after my dad passed away. And it was really just a way to kind of say things out loud that I haven't said out loud. I didn't plan on. Well, I knew people could watch because it wasn't streamed live. It was recorded as audio, posted later, and I don't know. I started doing more of those. I did like 2 or 3, and I was like, okay, well, what else can I say? It was really a podcast about talking about the process, like how I felt when it happened, the planning, the services, all that stuff. And there's really only so much you can talk about in a few episodes. It's like, well, after like 3 weeks, I was like, well, that's pretty much all that happened. then I started feeling better about things. So I was like, well, let's just start talking about fun stuff. Then you came along on a show. I think one of our first shows, I don't know if it was the very first, but it was one of the first ones where we reviewed the Code 8 movie, I believe.
I think so.
With Stephen Amell and Robbie Amell.
Yeah.
It wasn't I don't know if that was the very first episode we did together, but it was one of the very first. It was one of the first few. And
I think you had brought me on board to talk about one of my books.
That's right. Yeah. Because I was looking for stuff. I was like, well, I had a co-host for a few episodes and things didn't work out. There was some weird like tension and like, I was like, okay, well, I need to step away from the situation. And so I was doing it on my own again.
Yeah.
And not one episode. It was an episode. It wasn't live of what happened, but it was a story talking about what happened because this person that was on the show with me not the first few episodes, but like the third, fourth, fifth episode, whatever it was, she kind of went crazy on me and said I was stalking her and then called the local police here.
Wow.
They came to my house, came inside, which I could have said, don't come in, but I was like, sure, I have no reason. Come on in. And they kept wanting to get me into my living room away from my kitchen because they kept looking at the knives and the little dish thing. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to start stabbing people. And they kept trying to trick me into admitting to things. I'm like, no, I'm not causing anybody problems. I'm not talking to this person. I'm not doing anything. They're in Arizona. I'm here in North Carolina. How could I be stalking somebody that far?
Wow.
I'm not. Wow. So I told that story. I think it was episode 7 or something like that. And then, yeah, you had the book and you had sent me a copy of it. I read through it. I thought it was great. I was like, let's talk. And that was weirdly, that was the first time we had ever had any kind of like verbal communication at all.
Right. I mean,
which was really cool.
Right. We had been communicating, via messenger and text for years. And we were both huge fans of Heroes and in that Heroes group.
We did talk about Heroes on one of the very first episodes.
Yeah.
Because that was the original thing that got us like talking at all online.
Yeah.
Oh no. I'm in Arizona too.
Oh no. Oh no. Don't stalk him. Steven, do not stalk him.
Maybe you're the one that maybe you're here to I can't do that voice the entire time. What if Professor Chaos is actually like kind of executing a master plan to get me to talk about that story and then the cops are going to show up again? No.
Great. I get to do the podcast all by myself while Steven gets frisked.
What better on the 100th episode than to be like arrested and like I didn't do anything and all that. Then they just throw a gun in the floor like he's got a gun. No, I don't think that would be that crazy.
No, no.
But it would be really awesome. I kind of hope that does happen. Like the cops come in. I'm like, look, I'm on live. We're recording, so like anything you say can and will be used against you in the internet. But yeah, we just kind of went from there. We talked about the book and we talked about Heroes, and then after like 3 or 4 episodes, I was like, why don't you just stay here and let's keep talking about this kind of stuff? Because honestly, I don't know where I would have gone with it after that. I would have been like, well, today I went outside and I saw a fly and it was like, and then I watched a cartoon. It would have been weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I think that in a very similar way. What is it?
Corey says Stephen would enjoy the frisking. Probably called him on himself. Hey, if it gets me a free trip to downtown,
there we go. There we go. Instead of calling the Migra, you're calling them to give you a free frisking.
What if I go to Mexico and I don't want to pay to get back? Could I call the reverse immigration on myself to get me back to the States?
It's a lot harder to get kicked out of Mexico.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where it went, though, as the show went on.
I know.
I didn't really have much else to talk about by myself. I could have talked about things, but it would have been weirder, I think. Not weirder, but just, I guess looking back, it would seem weird. But for the time, I probably wouldn't. It wouldn't be that weird. It would just be me talking about things. But
does it ever shock you how long, though, this podcast has been going on?
It really has, because I think the very first episode that I did, it was like an 18-minute episode. Very raw and real and emotional and all that kind of stuff. And the first few times people listened to it, I was like, oh no, they heard it. Like, why did you record it then? Like, but then now I'm like, hey, that's why I did it. Because I wanted people to hear like a real story with real feelings and real everything, and then maybe relate to that and be like, oh wow, I went through that too. And that was the whole entire idea of the podcast. But then it drastically is so much different now than what it was. And mainly because there were times when I was like, I want to get back to the real things. Because when we had Mark Guggenheim on, when we had Eric Goins, I would always ask these people about depression and anxieties and all this stuff. Because that's what I was going through at that time when the show first began. And I realized I don't really need to talk about that anymore because I am having better times with that. This is better. This is better. I didn't feel the need to actually go into that anymore. So, I mean, I think the purpose of this show, even though it has changed a little bit, I think it's still kind of on track because it shows a journey of really sad, upset. And then today, 100 episodes, it's like, yay, movies.
Yeah.
So, it has a sad beginning and a happy, not ending. We're still going, but
Right. No, I think that we both have talked about how this podcast for us has really been, cheap therapy. It's one of those things that I look forward to every week.
Yeah.
It's not my job. It's not, I love my marriage, but I love having something that's mine, or I guess ours, and it is something that's fun, and so even doing what I kind of call my homework for the show and doing research before we come on, it's something that I enjoy and look forward to. So
I need to do that more. And in the beginning, I used to more when I was by myself. Because, well, no, actually I didn't because I didn't really have interviews. The only 2 interviews I had before we became a team was where you were one of them, honestly. And then the former co-host I had before that. And it just kind of went on. And it's like, well, okay, well, I haven't interviewed anybody by myself. I think I'm so used to the 2 of us being on the show together and talking to people that I'm like, I don't even know how to interview somebody by myself.
Right.
I could probably handle it, but I was like, I don't really know because I'm the one that goes. I agree with what Chris said. That's a great point. I'm the guy that just doesn't really say much, but he just agrees with everything. And then if I have an idea later, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes me think of this. But for me, I don't think of things instantly. I don't know why. Maybe I don't. Not that I don't pay attention enough. I still think I have some kind of ADHD or something because I can focus on something. I don't know. Steven? No, I don't know.
ADHD?
Maybe.
I don't think so.
It could be. Maybe not. It could just be too much sugar.
It could be that too. The caffeine.
I don't know. It could be the caffeine because I really do consume a lot of caffeine.
That's probably it.
It probably could be because
plus the ADHD.
Yeah, plus that.
Yeah.
Maybe I can go to a Mexican doctor. And get that looked at, and I can paddle up to Rio Grande. See, I already forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, the show.
I really do love though that we're not like some super edited, heavily scripted kind of program. We are literally just 2 guys having a conversation about stuff that we really care passionately about.
And that's what I love about podcasts. Like that's the kind of podcast I like. I've talked about it before, but the Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast, which kind of came out of Kevin Smith's group of friends, and it started as like a little cameo in one of the movies, and two characters, like one would kind of like really burn somebody. He's like, "Yeah, tell him, Steve Dave," and the term Steve Dave came from them being in a comic book store when they were kids and not knowing if the guy's name was Steve or Dave, so they just called him Steve Dave. And then that just blew up, and now they're a huge podcast. They've been going for 10 years, and they make a living on just that show. And it's 3 guys that just sit around and be like, so would you have sex with Batwoman? Well, maybe, just random things that like teenagers would talk about or something, and we don't go that far. We don't go in those weird directions. We just talk about the mostly movies and stuff, but it's still fun because there's no, in the beginning, I used to have little notes like talk about Little Debbie cakes, talk about Lego. But now I'm like, Now I might do that with interviews
Right.
little points that I want to cover, but I'm not going to sit there and script it.
I think we tried. I think we had discussed about the idea of trying to make it more organized and scripted, but I think the more that we've worked together, the more we realized that's just not our style.
No, I mean, in the right context, maybe, but like if I don't know, like what's a really huge name? I don't know. Say Will Smith was like, "Look, I want to tell my story. I want to tell you why I slapped him," and he came on. I'd be like, "Okay, I would write that out because like that's a big, huge thing. You don't want to be like the guys that are on TMZ that they show a clip of our show, like, so Will Smith, did you like to sing rap when you were 15? He he. Like." We would look like idiots on TMC.
Right, right. Well,
But
and you know me, like I like to make sure that I know who I'm talking to when we do an interview, that I know their history, I know what they've been involved in. I really do like to go into interviews prepared for that very reason, because I
yeah,
don't want to look like an idiot. But I think that there's a sweet spot somewhere in the middle between being prepared and having questions ready, and then being able to ask questions off the cuff and follow up. I think that's been having the flexibility to do that. We're not so like tying our own hands.
yeah. And I think I have developed this, I don't want to say character, but this part of the formula by just sheer laziness of not wanting to do something, but like you said, you look into people, you know these details, you're like, okay, so Eric Wallace had blueberry pancakes. I'm gonna ask him how they were. And I'm sitting here like, you work in TV, right? That's awesome. And I don't know. I have that, like, not that I actually don't care, but I have that attitude of like, I don't care. This is what, do you like pizza? And I think it works. It's, I don't know. It keeps us, we're like, not too like, because our first big interview was Mark Guggenheim, and he was like, dude, you guys are so good at this. I'm like, I know, shut up, stop complimenting us, jeez. And he was really surprised at how like structured, I guess, we were. And I was like, we can't both be like that. It's almost like Cheech and Chong. If they were both Chong, it'd be like, that'd be weird. So there's got to be the one guy that's not that doesn't care at all, but the goofiness of it, I guess. Because then the put together person can make fun of them, and then the goofy person takes 2 or 3 seconds to realize that you were making fun of them, and then it's even funnier.
Every comedic duo has to have sort of the funny man and the straight man, and I think that I kind of play the straight man role, right? I'm sort of the logical, analytical, part of the duo, and you're the reactive side of it. I think that's at least the way that I see it.
SpongeBob and Patrick.
I will try not to be insulted.
Well, you'll stare and talk about like, this rock is really neat. I'm like, jellyfish, and I just go off to the side. So, I don't know.
I'm not sure if that is a criticism or a valid critique.
I don't know. I think because, I'm like, which one is smarter? I feel like Patrick probably would be smarter. I think he's just tired all the time. I mean, he's kind of smart because his house is a rock, so he doesn't have to clean that much. SpongeBob's got all these little like furniture, paintings, all this stuff in his house. He has to dust and everything. So that's dumb. Why would you do all that work? I guess. I don't know. And he knows how to grill a hamburger underwater, so.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't think he realizes. I don't even know what I'm saying now. This is a Cheech and Chong, and then I'm like, we go from Cheech and Chong to SpongeBob and Patrick.
No, I think that we're talking about our duo.
Okay, so you're Squidward, and I'm SpongeBob and Patrick. That does make sense, because you're like, oh, SpongeBob. And I'm just like, look, a jellyfish. Ooh. And I'm like kind of going 2 different directions. And then.
Okay, so I will say I probably do have sort of a little bit more of the Squidward vibe. I don't think I'm that much of a negative Nelly.
I think you're Squidward in those episodes where he's really happy. He's like, oh, SpongeBob, how are you today, buddy? And he's like, Squidward, are you okay? Or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
Oh, but yeah, Cheech and Chong. No. No, I mean this episode wasn't entirely dedicated to Cheech and Chong, but it was like one of the main points.
I really loved the idea that you wanted to do an episode that was an homage to your father.
Yeah, and
I think that is awesome.
I mean, it kind of like was a full circle kind of moment because, like I said, it started off that way, and I'm not saying this is ending it, but this is like we talked about seasons, and I thought about I think on the audio version of the podcast at one point I did say season 2 or something, but it was meaningless because unless you were on that specific website or reading the podcast descriptions, you wouldn't know it was a season 2 or not.
Right.
The seasons on that website was just so the creator could keep track of their own stuff. It didn't really advertise it as season this or season that. And I thought, well, why would you have seasons in a podcast? There's really no point because it's not like a story arc. It's just different every episode. But then we were both talking about it one day and we're like, well, it might be easier to, because I still work on trying to get the YouTube straight, and I forget to add the shows to the playlist sometimes. And there was like 5 the other day that I didn't add. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. But yeah, I think I agreed with the idea that, starting to do seasons would be easier because then you would have one playlist of season 2, season 3, season 4. And then we would know like that this episode was on this season because it had this interview. And I think it would just be a lot easier for people to find the videos. And instead of saying, oh, it's episode 72, and they're like, wait, what? And they got to scroll through and find 72, they could just go to this episode and this season and find it a lot easier.
Right. 100 episodes, and we finally realized we need to cut them up into episodes.
And I really do agree that Cheech and Chong are adult versions of SpongeBob and Patrick.
Minus the marijuana.
Yeah, well, they haven't found it yet. And one of my favorite SpongeBob episodes, since we're kind of talking about that, was when they were like, when they were behind the dumpster and saw the swear words on the dumpster and they were saying them.
Oh,
and everybody was like, you can't say that, but it was all like censored out or whatever. I watched that. I was probably like 20 years old when I saw that.
They weren't, Steven, they were not swear words. They were sentence enhancers.
Oh, well. Imagination.
Right.
I know too much about SpongeBob and iCarly.
So here's the terrible thing is, again, SpongeBob came out when my kids were little, and one of the worst things is that my kids would like fall asleep or they would leave the room, and my wife and I would still be sitting there on the couch watching it. Right? At that point in your life, you realize that your life is over.
I think my life was over like probably 15 years ago at least then, because I was watching these kinds of shows for no reason at all.
Right.
I think some of it happened when we had cable, and because SpongeBob, people forget SpongeBob came out in like 1996 or 97. It was so long ago. And I remember like being up at night when we had cable not the first time, but like we didn't really have it much. But then as cable got more popular in the late 90s, I was like, okay. And it's one of those shows that kind of ran on like the weekends over and over. And I started watching it and I was like, all right, well, whatever. See, Robin says, I still watch it. I do too. I mean, I won't sit and watch it, but if I see it on something, I'll watch clips and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah. We've all got our guilty pleasures, right?
And speaking of guilty pleasures, I'm gonna show these because, I'm gonna show these really quick because this past was it Friday? We were supposed to have Dan on from Dan's Toy Box, and he had some family emergency, so he couldn't come on. We're gonna reschedule that with him at some point. But he sent me these 2 turtles.
Oh wow!
It's Leonardo and Donatello. So now I have all 4 turtles. So I wanted to show those. And then, being that the show is kind of dedicated to my dad, he would be like, "Oh, stop playing with your dolls." And I'm like, "Okay, it's not dolls, again.
They're action figures."
Yeah, okay, whatever you have to tell yourself. Action figures or dolls. Oh man. But yeah.
What is it about dads? I remember that my brother and I growing up, everything that we loved, my dad would call crap. and now, he's 72. And he has discovered a lot of things that he called crap 25 years ago, and he
Yeah,
loves them. I'm like, why didn't you love them 25 years ago?
that's sort of like, no, there was some things with my dad that probably was like that. Like, I don't know specific things, but one of the big things was I still do, but I would buy the DVD seasons of TV shows.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I looked over at my DVDs as if you could see them over there, but I was like, yeah, right over there. See them? Wow. But yeah, I would buy the seasons like The Flash. I've always bought The Flash every season. I don't have season 7, I don't think. I might have it actually. I don't remember if I got that one or not. But well, we all have, well, the two of us at least have Arrow and Legends season 1 on Blu-ray, signed by Mark Guggenheim.
We do.
And yeah, I would buy these seasons year after year. And my dad's like, why do you waste money on those shows? You've already seen them. I'm like, yeah, but I want to watch them again later. Why? You already know what's going to happen. I'm like, you watch reruns on TV all the time. Yeah, but I'm not paying for it. I'm just like, okay. But then like a few years later, he really got into NCIS. And I like the show too. But he started buying the DVDs. I think he had up this like season, whatever season it was in 2018. He had up to that one. Then he passed away in 2019. So whatever seasons from 2018 back, he had all those on DVD. And I still have them somewhere. They might be all moldy in the basement. Who knows? But he started collecting them. Like, what about the time when you said it was stupid to collect DVDs of TV shows you've already seen? Oh, man. And he also had the Married with Children DVD set, which I have that somewhere. You can get some of those older shows, complete series, really cheap. Like, I just got that 70s show for $25. I think the entire thing. And I hate the packaging on those because it's like one little cardboard sleeve with 2 discs in it, and then like 30 of those in one box. I'm like, you couldn't give us little plastic sleeves or something more protective than cardboard?
Apparently, they were cutting costs.
I mean, to have an entire show for $24, you kind of have to. I was going to hold out to get the Blu-ray that 70s show. Like, is it really going to be that much better?
Well, they didn't have 4K.
Yeah, really. You can remaster movies in 4K from the 90s. I saw a clip of T2, Terminator 2 in 4K. It looked amazing. It's the frame rate is what did it. It was so smooth, and it was like scaring me. And when I got this 4K TV, I was like, oh, everything's going to be so much more awesome to watch movies, and this is going to be amazing. And then you have the realization that like not a lot of stuff is supported in 4K. I mean, you can get the Blu-rays and you can see certain videos streaming in 4K, but not a lot of it is 4K. So it's like, and then I saw an advertisement for an 8K TV for like $7,000. I'm like, I need that. Barely anything is in 4K. 8K stuff won't happen for another few years. And yes, the 70s show has a sequel series coming out to Netflix, and it's going to be called That 90s Show.
That 90s show. And
it's going to be, if you're aware of that 70s show, Eric and Donna end up getting married. Well, they don't get married on the show, but like they end up getting married and having a kid, and their kid is spending the summer with Eric's parents in Wisconsin. So, and a whole new group of kids hanging out in the basement. So I'm looking forward to it. That's another show my dad and I used to watch together too, was that 70s show. And that's one thing I don't know if my dad first heard that phrase from that show or if he just really loved using it after. But if I would hit my head or do something goofy, he's like, dumbass, just like Red Foreman in that 70s show.
Right.
So, I mean, that was that. That was pretty cool. Looking back, like, so don't play with your dolls, dumbass. And so many things like that. And
it sounds like you and your dad had an interesting relationship.
We did, and we didn't always get along. There were times when we would just really argue and fight and this and that, but like overall, like I think, at least in my mind, there were way more like positive, happy. What was I saying? Oh yeah, positive. I was starting to read comments. I was like looking back at old comments, but positive stuff more than negative stuff. And I was going to school for a while. It was called kindergarten. No, not that far back. But I was taking some classes at a local community college, and I think I talked about this. I had a couple of different like film classes where we learned to write and like operate a camera, edit. And I had this project one time, and now I've showed this clip.
Ain't too old to kick your ass.
I've shown that several times. I actually have the full video of that, and I thought about playing here. It's just under 3 minutes, so I felt like if you were okay with it, we could take a look and watch that.
Let's do it. I've seen that 2.5 second clip before, but I'd love to see the whole thing.
Yeah, it's not very well done. I'll tell you that right now. This is well, it's a really good movie. It's no Endgame or it's no classic drama. It was just like a practice sort of thing to teach us about editing, teach us about cutting between shots and things like that, and story development.
But as an homage to your father.
Yeah, and he's in it.
Yeah.
So it's like one of the only recordings I think I have of him. There was others too, and if I look back on my Facebook page, there's probably tons of live recordings that I did where he was with me, like walking around Walmart for whatever reason, that I used to record random things like that. But we would ride around in the snow when it was bad weather, and we would get out after a couple of days, like, let's take an adventure, and I would be recording it. But as far as like just on video, this is one of the only recordings I think I've ever had. So I like the fact that I have it still. And this was shot and edited probably back in either 2016 or 2017, I want to say. So it's cool that I still have it. It was on a flash drive. And then I was hoping that I transfer it to my computer because I was like, oh, I don't want to find that flash drive. Where is it? I have no idea. But luckily I did save the file to my computer. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play it. It's a short little movie, and it's a weird story. I'm going to make sure the sound works okay. So I'm going to play this one clip again.
Ain't too old to kick your ass.
The audio came through with that pretty good, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play the full one because I just didn't want it to play for a minute with no sound or anything.
Right.
So let's take a look.
Let's do this.
You rock, no problem. All right, I'll talk to you later. Thanks, Rock. I'll come up with something.
What are you watching?
Huh?
What are you watching?
No, I was asleep.
Do you care if I watch something?
I don't care.
Let's see. What? Family Feud is it? Ah, piece of shit.
Well, here, let me fix it.
A little bit. Man, maybe we should just get cable like we talked about.
We've talked about this shit. It costs too much.
Yeah, but we could split the bill, and you know, you're just cheap.
You're calm down, boy. Ain't too old to kick your ass.
Whatever. You know, I was thinking, wait, did you get the TV working?
Actually.
No, sorry about before. Maybe we really can't afford the cable.
I had the cable installed while you're in our house.
Are you kidding me? What about that whole it's too expensive BS?
I'm gonna tell you earlier, I can still kick your ass.
Yeah, whatever. I guess it's not that bad. I guess we could have some variety. Well, it's on anyway. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched that fully through in a while. And then the credits, I'm like, special thanks, Family Feud and Steve Harvey. I'm like, why did it? I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of rough. But I mean, still, it's one of those things where I was learning to mostly focusing on like different camera angles and cutting and editing and all that kind of stuff.
No, I realize that as the creator of it, you look at that and you see all the flaws, and I really liked that part where you go into your room and you're pouting, and the music starts to play, and your dad is secretly installed cable while you're sulking.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a touching moment. So, and for a short.
It was not Louis Anderson Family Feud.
No, not the Louis Anderson one. No, but I thought it was a really touching moment.
Thank you, everybody.
By the way,
whoops, sorry, clicking the wrong comment, sir.
How did you talk your dad into that?
I mean, I told him, I was like, there's and you could see him all like a lot going, I'll kick your ass. Like he was just looking over at the script I wrote to read it because he wasn't going to memorize any of that, right. Even though it was very basic dialogue. He wouldn't remember it. Good stuff. You look like your dad. Thank you. I know, like there's most of it in the eyes and kind of like right here, and then the lower half is my mom. Like the beard is exactly the same as hers.
I'm
sure
your mom would love that.
She's gonna watch this later. She's busy watching. What is she watching? That came on tonight at 8. It was like American Idol or something. But when I'm clean shaven,
you're telling me that your mom watches American Idol over your podcast?
I know. I almost told her you could have American Idol on the TV and mute it, and then watch this on your laptop. But then I was like, the whole point of an American Idol show was to hear the singing, so I let her have her American Idol.
Or what she could do is she could have American Idol on and listen to it, and then she could have the podcast on, but just turn on the subtitles.
Yeah.
And that way she could read what we're saying. All I'm saying is there's no reason why she can't do both.
No, but I mean, she's not too. She I don't know if she even knows how to watch two things at one time. I'm not putting her down. She one time asked me how to rewind a DVD, so I don't want to overwhelm her with like, click on this, then watch this, and click on this. I'm like, okay, what do you think your parents are watching right now?
I think my dad is already, he's already had dinner, and he is probably ready for bed.
He's watching Family Feud?
No, my dad is not a Family Feud fan at all. They watch The Voice, and they do watch American Idol, and they're really into those Hallmark movies. So,
I used to like those myself. And the joke in that short film, I'm pointing over here like it happened over there.
Right.
But the joke in that was that I had the idea for that short after a real life situation because we really did get cable. Not in that moment, but we just got it like a few days before, maybe a week before. And the funny part about it was before when we had that actual rabbit ear antenna, that was like a real antenna that we used. I probably still have it here somewhere. And it was a struggle. Of course, the TVs are digital, so they have the digital signal. And if you remember back in even as far as the 80s and 90s, when TV was very staticky, when you didn't have cable or something, and the rabbit ears would work, and the image was fuzzy, but you could still see it fine. It was just fuzzy. Yeah. Perfectly fine. Now, today, I forgot what it was like not to have internet or anything. When you try to turn on the TV to watch anything, and this is one of the reasons I don't watch Flash or Superman and Lois as they air anymore, because at the beginning of this season I did, but now I'm like, I'm not going to struggle because one little like millimeter to the left and the entire signal goes out. There's no fuzzy picture anymore. It's just there or not. And then sometimes it's like this podcast where I'm talking and I go, and I'm frozen. So I just watch it on the CW app later. But that was really happening with us. And then one of the only channels we could get in always ran Family Feud. That was all that was on that channel. Maybe Family Feud and like I don't know, Little House on the Prairie or whatever, like maybe 2 shows. And we got cable, and then we're watching without watching anything, but we have the little menu guide channel or whatever you want to call it up to go through the list of channels. We had like 100 channels, whatever, and we're cycling through, and then we just land on Family Feud. So we spent days and days watching Family Feud, got cable, and just kept watching Family Feud. And so that was the joke there, and that really kind of how it happened. We didn't argue over cable or anything. And that was also a lesson in foreshadowing that I used there because it was a rough cutout. But if you notice in the beginning of that, there's this really poorly photoshopped cable van parked out front. And the teacher of that class was like, "That's smart." I'm like, "It was very poorly photoshopped in." He was like, doesn't matter. It shows that there was something about to happen. And people didn't catch it at first. And then they watched it again. They're like, "Oh, there is a fan out front." And the whole idea was that in that, my dad, I don't know why I gave them character names as Kevin and Donald or something. I'm like, why didn't I just, I don't know. You don't ever hear their names in the whole short, but whatever. I thought they have to have character names. But the whole thing was supposed to be my dad not playing a joke, but trying to surprise me about it. And I started whining about not having cable. And then he's like, "I'll kick your ass if you don't shut up," and all this stuff. But the whole time, the cable guy was out front getting ready to come in. And had I not been pouting in my room, then I would have been here when he opened the door and I would have seen it. So that was the whole idea, I guess. I like the musical little like montage kind of thing where I think I recorded myself knocking and just added that in, and then did the whole shot. My favorite shot I think was when I showed my dad opening the door from the inside, then cut to the outside of the opening. The timing wasn't great on it, like it didn't match. Like he opened the door halfway, and then the next shot the door was closed, and he started to open it. So it should have been more fluid and all that, but I don't know. That was one of my favorite shots. And he throws the old remote in the trash can and gets the new fancy remote. And here I am with a crappy remote in my room throwing it. I don't know. I learned a lot from that class. And that's kind of where I really started to want to write movies.
Yeah.
And I have that one screenplay. That's second draft. I've been waiting a long time to write the third draft. I think Jay and Todd are finally going to review it and read it. I almost said I was going to send it to you so you could read, but you were like one of the first ones that did read it like 7 years ago when I first had this draft.
I really liked it. And I hope that you do something with it. That's what I really hope.
I'm really going to fine tune it some more because I haven't sat and read it in a while. I have, of course, the file on my computer. Well, not really a file. It's on a website. That's like a free script writing website. And you can pay a premium to get extra features, but the basics pretty good. And I have a physical copy in a binder somewhere in the stack of notebooks on my printer over here. And so I used to like occasionally read it, and I could read it in about an hour, maybe less than an hour. Because I know I could read it faster than some people probably could because I know like what's coming next, so I can skip lines and still get the story. But I think about it sometimes, and I'm like, I want to fine-tune this detail and fine-tune this detail. I think the ending is very cheesy and just like kind of shows that like I don't know how to end this, so just let me throw this in there really quick and do it that way. So maybe fine-tune the transition between this point and this point to make it seem more natural instead of so rushed. But little bits like that. But I think there's a good story there.
Endings are hard. How many times have you watched a movie or a TV show and they have an amazing beginning, an awesome middle, and then they tie it all up terribly?
Like the original Clerks was like that. The way the movie ends, if anybody's seen it, where his friend comes in and it's like, "Hey, you're closed," and throws the sign into the store, and that's it. And the original cut of the movie, which is on all the Blu-rays and all that stuff, that happens, and then he walks out, and then Dante's just sitting there doing some paperwork, whatever he's doing, and then somebody walks in, he's like, "Oh no, we're closed." Guy shoots him dead, steals a pack of cigarettes and the money or whatever, and leaves. And that was the ending. It's like it was such a perfect ending to take the sign off and say you're closed, and that's it. But then he went further, and they were like, "Dude, you got to cut." And then now with that movie, with that scene off of it, it makes so much more sense.
Right.
So I guess technically that doesn't count because it wasn't an official ending.
You know what that means, though? You know what that means? Even Kevin Smith can write a bad ending.
I think all of his movies have bad endings, but no, I love Kevin Smith, so I'm not going to sit there and like tease too much. But
So maybe the big thing is you have more in common with Kevin Smith than you realize.
yeah, I mean, I think I do. This is unrelated to what we were talking about, but it's Kevin Smith related. Clerks 3 has been done and everything and finished, and it's just waiting to be released. So he mentioned a while back that the trailer for Clerks 3 would debut in May. Well, it's May 22nd. We have like a week left. Where's this trailer? So I tweet at Kevin Smith earlier, and I say, if you want to follow Kevin Smith on Twitter, it's at that Kevin Smith. And I tweeted him and said, hey, I forget what the tweet said exactly, but I'm getting so excited for the Clerks 3 trailer. May is almost over. And he liked the tweet, but didn't respond. I'm like, what does that mean? Are you going to come out with the trailer in May like you said, or are you going to make us wait longer? Give us something. I don't know. Oh.
Yeah, he's dangling the carrot.
Oh my gosh, this is a fun story. So this is my aunt. This is Robin. Well, none of you can read. That's why I had to read her name to you. Wow. If you decide to write more videos, I'd help be in one, or help if you wanted. Remember the one we did years ago with my red car, my old video camera. See, she had a camera, and we used to make the stupidest little videos. She had a little red Chevy Cavalier. And I thought it would be funny to make a bunch of videos as if I were being killed. Or maybe not killed, but just hurt or something. So there was a bunch of little clips that we recorded. And back in those days, computers and editing existed. But that's for the rich folks up in the city. Wow. I'm like the rich folks up in the city. Like I'm using the internet and streaming, and I'm talking about rich folks.
Right.
I don't know. But anyway, we just had the camera, and it wasn't the big, huge, like shoulder full VHS camera. It was those little VHS-C tapes, the little miniature ones.
Right.
That when it came out to where you could just plug AV cables into the VCR, you're like, oh wow, we don't have to get the little adapter to push into the VCR, because they used to have that VHS adapter. You put the little tapes in, put that in the VCR. It was a huge hassle. Yeah, it was a hassle to watch a home video. But anyway, we would record. And when we would edit like in camera. So we would be like, okay, cut. Now you run over here, do this, and start. And okay, now you run over. So I forget exactly which ones we did, but what the first thing that came to my mind when she made the comment was we opened the hood and I laid down on top of the engine, and they closed the hood softly against my back, and I was dead because someone had smashed the hood on me to kill me. And then there was one, I think, where we put my bicycle like off to the side, like the handlebars turned, and my leg was like upside down, and I was laying under the car, so I got hit by the car. I really don't know why or who really thought to do these, but it was funny. We used this camera for so many different things. We would make little videos with action figures, and then watch them back, and all kinds of dumb little videos like that. It was fun, and that's probably where I get a lot of the desire to make movies and do things like this. Is way back then when that video camera and just filming things, because when the excitement of being younger, like teen years or before, like preteen to like young 20, like that young age of seeing your face on a screen. I'm on TV. Yeah, I'm in the movies. It's just, I don't know. It was fun.
Yeah. It seems to me like you got a way of involving your family in your videos.
Yeah. And, wow. This is funny. So, Dateline does need actors to play soon to be dead people. I feel like I could shave my beard and leave the mustache, and I could play the creepy guy trying to like snag up kids or something. Like, I don't want to do that, but I'm saying they need somebody to play every type of person on those kinds of shows. So I could be creepy.
Stephen, are you saying that you think you look like a pedophile?
I mean, when I only have a mustache I do look like a pedophile. Especially now that I'm losing my hair more and more as I get older, it sells it even more.
So you think that people with receding hairlines are, molesters?
No, I think people that look like me that have receding hairlines and only a mustache.
But as long as you don't do like this little action.
If I ever have a mustache and that's it again, and I'm buying something from an ice cream truck, and there's like a line of kids behind me, that would really be creepy. So I don't know why I said that, but
maybe if your mustache like curled,
yeah,
right, like you were some kind of like robber baron tying a beautiful woman to the railroad tracks.
I'd rather just dye it white at that point and get a monocle and just be the Monopoly guy,
right,
or whatever. I don't think he actually had a monocle. That's one of those Mandela effect things where they said like the Monopoly guy doesn't actually have it. Yeah, Berenstain and the Shaq movie where he was a genie that never existed, but people swear they saw it 10 times. Stuff like that. I think who are we talking about now? Oh, the Monopoly guy. I don't think he actually had a monocle. I think he just had the top hat and the cane. And I think people get confused with Mr. Peanut because he had a monocle and a hat and a cane.
That's who I was thinking.
Yeah. So, and then the Pringles guy, he has the mustache with the thing. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I can look creepy or I was gonna say cool, but I don't think I ever look cool. But I could look creepy if I really wanted to. I did that for a while. Not look creepy on purpose, but I was like, let me shave my beard, but I want to keep my mustache because the place I used to work, it was a grocery store, like a local regional grocery store here. And at one point, they didn't allow the employees to have a beard, but you could have a mustache. Okay. Didn't seem very logical to me. It's like, if you're going to ban facial hair, just ban it. Don't sit there and say, and they tried to say it was like health code related or something like that. People in like the deli and stuff had to wear those little mustache nets, and those look like the dumbest. Those look stupider than disposable face masks everywhere.
I've seen the beard the beard hairnet, which is just hilarious.
The worst one is just a mustache net because it's a little mini net that just goes right here.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. When I got married in 2000, I was a security guard, right? So in 2000, I was a security guard, and they had exactly the same type of thing about facial hair that you couldn't have the full beard.
Yeah.
So I shaved off my goatee and left the mustache on top, and so all of my wedding photos have me with the mustache, and I looked good, but
I did not.
Yeah.
Apparently. Body your choice. That's right.
My choice.
Don't tell me what I can do with my hair.
Thank you.
I'm not making fun of.
I know this podcast just took a turn.
Yeah, we never actually make fun of any serious issues. We don't get into serious issues on this show because it's more about fun. And I feel like inevitably, if we start talking about a serious thing, everybody's going to be like, how dare you? And I'm going to kick your ass. And
I will say that just as much as my facial hair is my business, a woman's body is her business too. So, yeah, we're equal opportunity.
Yeah, we'll make fun of everybody and ignore everybody too.
Right.
I guess.
Right.
But yeah, Cheech and Chong. So that's a good movie. No, it wasn't meant to be a full like scene by scene guide to the movie. Just some fun talking about our thoughts on it.
I really appreciated the opportunity and the excuse to go and pop Up in Smoke back into my DVD player. Yeah. I was amazed that it still worked, and watch it and just kind of be reminded about how stupid funny it is. So
yeah, normally I'll watch the movie like on my dad's birthday. I think I did that the last couple of years. Because it's crazy because in December it'll be 3 years that he's been gone. So it's like, wow. It's like right before COVID. And that's when we had Mark Guggenheim on the show. I told him this story. Well, there's not much of a story, but just when Crisis on Infinite Earth began, Crisis on Infinite Earth, more than one Earth. I meant to say Earths. But anyway, when that started airing, my dad was still alive. And then when it went on break, he passed away, came back, and that's why I loved Crisis so much, because the message there at the end was like, they have to get used to their new world, their new reality. And that's what I was going through literally at the same time. Although they never really faced much consequence on the shows, because they ended up just forgetting that Crisis ever happened. And now they're just like, la, la, la. But anyway, yeah, so that meant a lot. And that's what I told Mark. And I was hoping he could come on here tonight, but he was unable to do that. So no problem. I told him, don't worry about it. Do what you have to do. But
it would have been interesting to have Mark Guggenheim on the show and talk about Up in Smoke at the same time.
Jeez, see his reactions. Like, Up in Smoke. Well, I love that movie because here's why. Told Dad that there were naked girls in it, so he might watch this now. Up in Smoke, yeah. I mean, there are a couple of Up in Smoke. I went to get my water, but it's empty.
With my dad, I love my dad. Every now and then, I think that I have him figured out, and then he'll do something that will just completely catch me by surprise.
Yeah. I'm saying, yeah, but I'm not there. I don't know. But I get where you're coming from, I guess.
Yeah.
And I have this dark sense of humor. I don't like openly say it, because I feel like people would get the wrong idea, like it was mean or something. But I understand now why people use dark humor to like entertain themselves, like to cope with things. Because you were saying, like, just as soon as you have your dad figured out, he surprises you. And I'm like, yeah, me too. Mine surprised me by passing away. Like, that's a dark joke. But to me, it's not, because to me, I'm at a place now where I can make those jokes and not feel weird about it, and not feel like he would be disappointed in me. He would just be like, you're not right, or something like that. He wouldn't like be overly angry.
I can still kick your ass.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think I might have actually wrote that line, but the way he said it was great.
He definitely owned it.
Well, see, I guess technically you could say he wrote it, because he would say that a lot, which is why I wrote it. So there's that.
Was it life imitating art, or was it art imitating life?
I ain't too old to kick your ass.
I think that's actually the same T-shirt he's wearing in this little picture. It is. That's weird.
We're going to find out that your dad only owned one shirt.
Yeah. Well, he had more than one hat at one point, because he had this red hat that he really loved. And for some reason, he loved this hat. I think I was with him when he got it. It was at a Goodwill or something random like that. And it was like a hat with the name of a company on it. I love how I talk with my hands like it's a hat, showing people how to use hats.
Right, because we have no idea.
Right. I don't know why I do that sometimes.
Did he have a fish hook? Did he have a fish hook in his hat?
I believe so. And this one well, it's hard to see in this picture, but I believe he did on the other side. It's hard to see because of the shadow.
I'm like, wow, too old to kick your ass.
But on that one, you can see it like in the middle.
I'm like, wow, he really is from North Carolina.
Yeah, and he loves fishing, and that's one of the reasons I used it. This was his we didn't run a traditional obituary because it was like so expensive, and they charged so much this and this and this. But we did have like a digital one done online and everything, and we had a what I always call the funeral menus, which those little booklet things you get when you go in.
Yeah.
I always call it a menu because that's what it is. That's what it is. Essentially, it's telling you what's going to happen. So it's kind of like a menu, or a dead bill instead of a play bill for a play. A dead bill. I don't know. More terrible.
Like a program.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to call it something goofy for some reason, and I always called it a death menu or a funeral menu. Anyway, that's the picture I put on it because it was it was a few, 2 or 3 years old at the time. But it was such a good picture because it's like when I went to pick a photo for these official things, and if you people watching notice like this little thing hanging up, it's really hard to see the little picture in the edge, and this is like the thing that was hanging at the funeral home, and they gave us copies of it to frame and put up and stuff. It's the same picture that's on that, and it shows like the date and like the service and what it is and stuff. I just thought that was really cool that they put it together like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to hang that up. It's the same shirt, but it never crossed my mind until today that video, he's wearing the same shirt. And so that's pretty cool. He's wearing a different hat. I think I still have that shirt somewhere laying around, some of his old stuff. Let's see. We have a comment here. Oh, heart. Well, thank you. I still can't get over the whole naked ladies thing in it. So what? Oh man, that's funny. I don't know why, but that reminds me of watching another dad stories. Like him and my mom, or him and his friends. I forget who it was, but I was young. I was like 8 years old, maybe, and they had a VHS of Jerry Springer Too Hot for TV, and we were watching it. And they're like, okay, you can watch it, but you have to turn around whenever the bad stuff comes up. Because ultimately, 2 seconds in, women fight, the clothes come off, they're all flopping around and doing their thing, and I had to look away. And at one point, I was like, wow! And I said something like, I don't know. Because I knew it was something I wasn't allowed to see, but I didn't know exactly what. So when I saw it, I'm like, whoa!
What are those?
Yeah. I'm like, those things are big. They're like, turn around. I'm like, okay. So
I remember that I took my kids to go see a movie that was, PG-13, but they were younger, and I didn't think it was going to have anything in there that was inappropriate for them to see. And then it came on, and I remember I took my oldest daughter and literally shoved her head into the cup holder. She still remembers that. Yeah, totally traumatized her. I think I caused more mental anguish shoving her head into the cup holder than if she had just simply been allowed to watch what was on the screen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but like it could be. I mean, I remember as a kid not being allowed to see this, or this. And it's like, why? But as an adult, you're like, okay, that's not that bad. Because I've seen in my years so many other worse things than some boobs on some fighting women. But
right.
I mean, at the time, if you're 6, 7, 8 years old, it's like, yeah, you don't need to be see. I mean, not intentionally letting kids see that kind of thing anyway.
Right. I don't know about.
It's just.
I don't know about
fun.
Jerry Springer being family programming or anything like that.
No, I mean the only parts I was allowed to watch were like, so you say your sister slept with your husband, and then it's like they get up out of the chair, and then my parents knew to tell me to turn around when the chairs got thrown,
right?
Because they knew something was about to happen. But there was something else. I remember the first time I said "damn," and I got in trouble for it. And I'm thinking, like, now it's like, that's no big deal. I think I hear Big Bird say damn on Sesame Street. Maybe not quite that far, but
Raphael and Turtles. Yeah.
Exactly where I got it from, I think. Because It's like, they really pushed it. They wanted to be so edgy that in 1990, damn, like 4 times was like, oh man, that's almost rated R. Like, and that's one of the reasons why Turtles 2 is so goofy. Is because the parents thought it was way too edgy and violent. I'm like, they're Ninja Turtles. It's all about fighting. How are you less offended with, say, Michelangelo hitting someone with nunchucks made out of meat instead of wood? Is that any better? I mean, imagine if you hit Corey in the face with a sausage instead of a stick. Would he have been less traumatized?
No, and he'd still be talking about it, though.
Probably. He probably would have. I mean, he might have eaten the sausage, because if somebody hit me with a sausage, I'd take it and eat it, and then hit them with a stick. I don't know. But yeah, that gets me about the Turtles movie. It's like, it's not that violent because they don't really stab anybody with the swords. So, okay. Transformers, the 86 animated movie, had one surprise curse word. I don't remember. I remember that, but I don't remember what the word was. But yeah, this has been a fun show. We've gone longer. I didn't realize how long we've been going. It's almost an hour and a half. I'm like, wow, really?
So I do want to say this, that, I never met your dad, but I feel like after watching his favorite movie and then talking about him for the last, hour and a half or so, that I have at least a better sense of who he was.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a very complicated person, but at the same time, he had his traits. And then somebody, as it was mentioned earlier, they say I look like him, but like if I walked around like this all the time, maybe. Because I did do one of those. It's like an app or something where you take a picture and then like age yourself.
Right.
And I showed my mom, and she was like, "Is that a picture of your dad?" And I'm like, because it was like when I add the right wrinkles and the right folds and the right, it does. One time I was standing in the mirror going like this to just get the right angle, and I'm like, ugh! Like not because it was like terrible that I looked like him, but I was like, wow, that's crazy how the little detail you can see. And like I said earlier, this part from my nose down is my mom. If I smash my cheeks together and like smile without the facial hair, it looks just like the lower part of her face. So it's almost literally like somebody did this. I'm a Lego head.
Yeah. Before we kind of wrap things up, in one of the shows that we really enjoy on the Flash, what is it?
Oh, it's we will have to watch the Jerry Springer Too Hot for TV next week.
There we go. We're taking a very big turn here on the show.
Yeah.
As we said before, pop culture is a very wide genre. But no, I was thinking about how in the Flash, with the loss of Frost and the team dealing with her death and trying to think about like the legacy and how they, I don't know, keep her memory alive. I think that's always a question we have to ask ourselves when we lose people we care about.
Mm-hmm.
Is how do we make sure that their memory lives on? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I thought about like doing a little like Jackass type stunt tonight, but I've totally forgot about it until now, and I'm not about to try it. I was gonna bend over holding a lighter up to my rear end and watch the fireworks. We did that a lot. Oddly enough, I don't know why we did it, but we did it a lot, and it works. It's amazing, but people shouldn't try it at home. I keep saying dangerous things, and I'm like, don't do these things, but watch someone else do it. It's funny, but don't do it yourself.
Like I said, again, our viewing numbers would have gone through the roof, or at least out your back end.
Yeah, I mean, the show would have been on fire.
It would have been in more ways than one.
And then after that, we have to watch Debbie Does Dallas, apparently. Then we're going to just go through these adult websites and just review every video on there, I guess. No limits this time, I suppose.
I know. As long as you don't like Find Mine.
Congratulations again on 100 episodes, Professor Chaos. That's terrible. If I watch this back, I'm going to be like, why is this old lady sick on our show?
But I got to say, as we're wrapping up here, how much I've enjoyed being a part of this podcast. How I'm so proud that we've made this work, and that I'm so happy with your maturity and the seriousness that you bring to this medium of podcasting. So
definitely the kid behind the cameraman or behind the news anchor and the on scene. I'm like, dude, look at me. This is pretty cool.
Right.
Ecto one. I was gonna transform it on here, but I'm like, it takes a few minutes. But everybody, if you want to see a transform, you can go on the show I did from last night. It's like 45 minutes long, where I talk about going to the local Comic-Con, and I show this, and I fully transform it. So check that out. But yeah, I've loved having this show, and I think we work so well as a team. I think it's fun. It's definitely more fun than doing it by ourselves.
Yeah.
And I know I get weird and distracted, but I think it works. And I think honestly, I'm just looking for an excuse to be weird and distracted. But it's fun. I think it works great. And I'm so happy that we've gone this far. And I know our audience has grown a little bit, but then again, we were never expecting to be, or even expecting to ever be like a big, huge YouTube thing overnight, or if at all ever. You know,
I think we've always done this for us. Right?
Yeah,
This has always been like, we do this because it's fun, and if people want to join us and laugh along with us and kind of talk about the stuff we're talking about, then awesome. We're happy to have the viewers, but you're right. It's never been about that for us either.
No, I mean, in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, one day I'm waiting for the mail to come, and I have my little silver YouTube plaque or something that says millions, whatever the thing is for. That would be cool. Have hanging on the wall. It'd be cool to make a few bucks off ads and stuff, but I'm not trying to force that into existence. I think it would be even cooler if it takes 100 years. We're like 90 years old. And I love the fact that I don't do math, because I thought the two of us will both be exactly 100 years old in 90 years from now.
Right.
We're going to somehow meet at the same line of age. So either I'm going to get older faster, or you're going to go backwards or something. And we're going to both be 100 in 90 years and not like more than that. Anyway, into the future. Yeah.
I don't want to think about how old I'm going to be in 90 years, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be like 132.
Yeah, I'll be 190.
Yeah.
In 100 years. And I'm 90 years old and just now losing hair. So killing me, Smalls. I feel like that should be the theme of anything I say, because I just keep going and going. I'm like the little energizer.
You know what's hilarious to me is that the guy who plays in that movie in The Sandlot reminds me so much of my brother. That is definitely Corey right there on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right before he gets hit with a stick.
Right. It looks like he got hit in the stick in the backside.
And that's why it's oh my gosh.
I know.
But yeah, it's been fun. I'm glad we could joke around and talk about something different. It was nice, you know. Maybe next time we can talk about Martha Stewart sewing or knitting a sweater at who knows.
I do have some really great crochet patterns.
Okay, well maybe she can come on the show and get her on here.
We can teach
I'm excited to. I'm excited to get some of our new episodes going. Well, they're all new, I guess, every time one comes out. Oh, wow. Catcher and T-ball. I mean...
Corey was the catcher on his T-ball team, which when you think about it, right, what exactly does the catcher in a T-ball team do?
Was there actually a catcher in T-ball?
He was.
I guess if you hit the ball,
they made him squat down in position to be the catcher in T-ball.
I mean, I guess you could catch in T-ball if the kid hits the I guess the tee. Like what's that thing called in T-ball that holds the ball? If you hit that and it falls over and the ball rolls backwards, I guess he would pick it up and hand it to the guy.
Right.
To put it back on the stick.
In Corey's defense, though, I was not a very good baseball player either. So
I bet he did really good at catching, though. Now I'm sitting here thinking of the logistics behind catching in T-ball. Wow, that's going to hurt my brain.
Don't think too hard about it.
But yeah. Definitely looking forward to some of our guest episodes coming up soon.
Eric Wallace?
Yeah, Eric Wallace is coming up. I want to say it's a couple of weeks. If I remember right, it was June 3rd on a Friday. I believe it was a Friday episode. Because that's what would work. It was what was going to work for his schedule. And we have not scheduled yet, but it's in the works. I mentioned the Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast earlier. So Walt Flanagan, who's on that show, and he's also on AMC's Comic Book Men, and has been in several Kevin Smith movies. He's going to come on. He's got a new book, a comic out that I believe he did the art for, and it's called Knights of the Fifth Dimension. So it's like different dimensions, beasts, and things like that. So, and he's a really good artist. He really is. I've seen some of his artwork, and it's crazy. He's down in Orlando right now at the big MegaCon.
Okay, nice.
So I'm going to email him back on Wednesday, and we're going to touch base on a schedule. And he would love to come on and talk about the book. And I want to play a game because they play games on their show. And I talked about this, I think, last night. It's like a word game. I think they call it dyslexia, where they give clues and you have to guess what those clues are as far as a word. So they'll say like Pop-Tart, dog poop, and satellite dish. And the answer would be like a pepperoni pizza. Somehow in his mind, like he gives off these clues, and somehow in his mind, all these things are connected somehow to make this word. It's back. I guess that's why they call it dyslexia, because it's so backwards and weird. And I love listening to them play it because everybody gets so frustrated. They're like, "How in the world is that? There's no way that's true." And it's just a bunch of laughter. So I might see if he wants to play that, where we would have to guess kind of what he's saying or whatever, what he's trying to say.
I'm pretty good about word association games. So
that might be fun.
Yeah.
It would be fun to play that if he's willing, because that's kind of his game. Like, but I think he might want to do that. My goal is to make him laugh. He has a very distinctive laugh.
Okay.
And so it's really funny, I think. And I want to make him laugh instead of just going, "Hey, Walt, do you like comic books?" "Yeah, but not as much as I used to. Thank you for coming on." Like, I don't want it to be so. I want to have some, like, sprinkle some of the fun from their podcast. I'm basically saying I don't know how many ideas I want to steal their stuff.
Our podcast is plenty of fun.
Oh, it is.
We're like a barrel full of monkeys, Steven.
I think it was just one of my dreams to have those guys, like a cross thing, because their show is kind of one of the things that made me want to podcast and do this to begin with. So, that's a signal. But no, our show's plenty of fun, but I thought it'd be fun to add something different. And
yeah, I'm totally
just
down.
for like just a guest fitting thing where it fits the guest.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Yeah. I mean, sort of. Dog is to puppy as cat is to your worst nightmare. It's kind of a weird word association type thing, but making less sense than what you just said.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
I think
we're gonna break out. We're gonna break out the SAT analogies.
Yeah, because I feel the feeling if I don't finish the show soon,
too old to kick your ass.
So
Chris is the Steven as Batman is to
a better podcast.
A better podcast.
No,
Pepperoni.
See, yeah, that's sort of the way the game is. Yeah, I don't know. There no podcast is better.
I know.
Don't listen to Tell 'em Steve, Dave. Listen to this. Watch this. Tell those guys that they suck. No, they don't. But I'm just saying. Oh yeah. What were we gonna do? Leave the show.
We're gonna leave the show. Yes.
Today's our last episode. We quit. Click. No, we'll be back on.
We're done
on Sunday. With
Sunday.
All new episode. Well, I don't know if I'm going to call it episode 1 or if we just go 101, 102. I don't know. Maybe we'll go 201.
Episode 1. 201.
Yeah, 201, 202, 203 until 300, and then we'll go. Now, I say moving forward, the seasons probably will be shorter. It's not going to be 100 each time. Probably 25, 50. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Oh my gosh. No, it just keeps going. What if Batman had a podcast? Like, tonight on Gotham Talks, we're going to talk to all the guys I put in jail. I'm Batman. Oh, Batman, you're going to talk about putting me in jail. I don't know. That would be a weird show.
It would be very weird.
I am vengeance and I'm ratings. I don't know. I would watch that or listen to it. All right.
You would be the only one.
Yeah, me and the guy who wrote it, I guess. Like me and Ben Affleck would be watching it together.
Written by Stephen Colton. Directed by Stephen Colton.
Yeah, you got to give credit in the movies. So I had to give myself credit for every role that I did.
Musical producer, Stephen Colton. Camera effect editor, Stephen Colton.
Special thanks. Guy at Best Buy that sold me batteries. All right. we're gonna wrap it up, everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining us for 100 episodes, all the way back from when it was a
100.
weird podcast to now when it's
Still weird.
a good podcast. It's still weird, but it's entertaining at least, and not so.
Let's not lie to the people. We're still weird.
Yeah, both of you watching.
Right. We thank both of you.
Yeah, then it drops to 1 and 0.
Right.
The fact that anybody's still here is great because I can't shut up. I was going to try to wrap it up 20 minutes ago, and I'm still talking. So this is a fun episode. I think I said that 6 times. And catch us next week, where hopefully Superman and Lois would have been back. Does it ever come back on, or did they cancel it? Like, what's going on with that show?
Oh, I'm tired of all these little breaks.
I know, like 2 episodes, break time, 1 episode, break time, half an episode, break.
At least it's not having a break like Naomi.
One thing I can say, something we might have to have to talk, not have to talk about, but have so we can talk about. Stranger Things comes out in 5 days.
Yes.
So
yes.
I started watching season 1, episode 1 last night. So I don't think I'll have enough time to binge all 3 before then. So what I might do is watch like the last 3 episodes of season 3. And because if I start watching season 1, episode 1 now, I fell asleep the other night. But if I start watching them now, I'm not going to stop until I finish all 3. And I'm going to be wanting to watch 4 so badly. And it'll be all out of context. And it'll be weird in my mind. So,
I am so ready to talk Stranger Things, though.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that in a while. And this show hasn't had a new season in a long time. And I just subscribed to Netflix yesterday in preparation to get that. So that's coming up very, very soon. And then for those of you who like Cobra Kai, we got a little bit to wait to talk about that, but their new season comes out in September. Instead of January 31st or December 31st, whatever, as it usually does, it's coming out in September, a couple of months early. So that's going to be fun. So we'll see what happens.
I'm ready. I'm totally ready.
I am too. I should have worn my Cobra Kai. I have some Cobra Kai shorts on, but I'm not going to stand up and go, look at my clothes, everybody. That'll get us canceled. Then all the prestigious guests, maybe not. Maybe it'll spawn an OnlyFans and one of those cam websites where people give you money. And
that's one of the ways to get monetized, Steven.
Well, I didn't want to ruin the surprise ending, but no. All right, guys.
Let's keep some things secret.
Yeah, for now. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you at episode 200 again.
All right.
Hopefully. Maybe 2 more of you will join until then.
Right.
But I'm going to stop talking now because I need to get my eyes off the screen and learn how to speak like a normal person again. And do it all again next week.
All right.
So, see you later.
Signing off. Take care.
See ya.
I ain't too old to kick your ass.